Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to discuss a what-if scenario submitted to me by Eel Entertainment. So what if after Godzilla vs. Destroya we saw what happened to Godzilla Jr. as he began his journey taking up his father's mantle as the new king of the monsters? For this, I have come up with a trilogy. I will lay out the next two films in separate videos. This video will be about the first installment, so without wasting any more time, let's get into it. After absorbing his late father's energy, a newly revived but weak Godzilla Jr. heads out into Tokyo Bay and disappears into the sea. Hoping to recover after the tragic events that recently transpired, Godzilla Jr. rests on the seafloor out in the North Pacific Ocean. It's the year 1997, 1 year after the events of Godzilla vs. Destroya. Hoping she can reconnect with her psychic abilities, G-Force asks Miki Sagusa to come out of retirement to help look for Jr. They've been unable to locate him since the day he left the airport after his father's battle with Destroya. At first she is hesitant, but ultimately she agrees because she's also wondering where he has ended up. Miki hopes she can re-establish her psychic abilities and find Jr. now Godzilla. She hadn't used her abilities since 1996, and at that time, she was already noticing they were diminishing. Meanwhile, near the Solomon Islands, a mining team for the Treo Corporation is on the mysterious Skull Island, hoping to extract more of the recently discovered mysterious element X from the island. The mining team establishes a base of operation and begin using their equipment to drill for element X. By accident, they uncover an enormous underground tomb and the remains of a giant ape skeleton mysteriously preserved. The team investigates the tomb and finds that the skeleton belongs to the great King Kong, Skull Island's rightful protector. They estimate the skeleton to be over 80 meters long and detail their findings to Chairman Hu. A massive storm hits the island, causing the call to be cut short, and the team braces for the worst. A giant octopus comes ashore and wreaks havoc upon the base and the mining equipment. A small skirmish with the octopus proves that the team is no match for the monster. The remaining members decide to hide and wait out the octopus rather than continue fighting. Finally, after the storm lifts and a few days go by, Chairman Hu arrives with the JSDF as well as a giant containment boat for the ape skeleton. Off in the North Pacific Ocean, Godzilla Jr. is still resting on the ocean floor until he senses a nuclear submarine nearby. Needing more energy, Jr. seeks out the submarine. He destroys it and absorbs its radiation. G-Force is immediately notified and swings into action. The submarine has only increased Jr.'s appetite, and he begins to head closer to the Japanese mainland. Even though he absorbed his father's energy, Jr. is still weak from the events of Godzilla vs. Destroya and is unable to swim for long distances at a time. Back on Skull Island, the JSDF successfully defeats the octopus, and Chairman Hu announces that he has struck a deal with the military to bring the skeleton back to Osaka. He says that they will use the skeleton to create the ultimate Element X mining machine, Mechani-Kong. The team heads home but hopes to return with their mechanical ape robot, which will make the job easier, but also help them defend against any other monster attacks while on the mission. It's the year 1998. The construction of Mechani-Kong has just finished ahead of schedule, and soon it will be unveiled at a publicity tour for its big trip back to Skull Island. Using power from Element X and outfitted with repurposed metals from Ogira, Chairman Hu tours Mechani-Kong. He touts that the robot is incredibly durable and can even hold up against any attack. He also mentions that Mechani-Kong's I-beams are incredibly strong. The workers, on the other hand, are concerned as they haven't done enough testing. Some even mention that the last few tests have had issues. Nevertheless, Chairman Hu decides to proceed. At the press conference in Osaka, Chairman Hu explains that the mighty King Kong lives on in Mechani-Kong. He says that like Kong, Mechani-Kong is extremely strong and will bring back more of the mysterious Element X, which he says will help Japan become even more prosperous. He mentions that Mechani-Kong runs on this Element X and is able to last over 3 months until it needs to be replenished. The media marvels at the over 80-meter tall mechanical Kong. Chairman Hu turns on the robot to demonstrate its prowess. During the demonstration, something goes horribly wrong. The Element X used to power Mechani-Kong fuses with Kong's skeleton, which causes Mechani-Kong's brainwaves to go haywire. Enraged, Mechani-Kong proceeds to rampage through Osaka. As Godzilla Jr. gets closer to Japan, he finally reappears off the coast. G-Force goes into stage red and attempts to determine where Godzilla will land. Miki enters the room and sees Jr. on the monitor. She tells G-Force not to engage Jr., but it is too late, and nearby battleships attempt to cut him off as they open fire. This enrages Godzilla, and he fires his atomic beam back, decimating the ships. He goes underwater and continues his course. Miki was barely able to establish a connection with her psychic abilities, but faintly senses Jr.'s heartbeat. She recognizes that Jr. is still weak and realizes he is looking for energy to absorb. G-Force tries to figure out where Godzilla will land, thanks to Mickey informing them that his energy is low. They figure that since he is close to Osaka, he will most likely come ashore nearby. Sure enough, Godzilla arrives, heads to the nearest plant, and absorbs its energy. He destroys the surrounding area and then heads into the countryside. Mechani-Kong devastates Osaka, leaving nothing but a path of destruction and a dead Chairman Hu in the wreckage. Mechani-Kong heads into the Japanese countryside and ends up on a collision course with Godzilla. G-Force monitors the situation as Mickey asks to go to Junior. At first, G-Force is hesitant, but ultimately relents and gets Mickey on a helicopter. In the countryside, Godzilla comes face to face with Mechani-Kong. Angry, he roars at Mechani-Kong, who lets out a screechy mechanical roar back. The two look at each other. Godzilla fires his atomic breath. The beam is reflected off Mechani-Kong's armor and barely does any damage. Mechani-Kong fires his eye beams repeatedly at Godzilla, who falls down to the ground in agony. Mickey soon arrives and tries to connect with Junior but is unable to. She insists on staying and continue trying. Godzilla stands up and locks beams with Mechani-Kong. During this, Mechani-Kong throws a bomb from his utility belt at Godzilla, knocking him to the ground again. Mechani-Kong walks off deeper into the countryside. Godzilla wails and Mickey is finally able to establish another faint connection. She senses Godzilla is still mourning the death of his father, but also now weakened again thanks to Mechani-Kong. Mickey urges Junior to leave for the sea, which he eventually does. G-Force asks Mickey when she thinks Godzilla will return, but she is unsure. She is very drained and taken back to base. As Godzilla heals at the bottom of the sea near Japan, Mechani-Kong continues his rampage across Japan, getting closer and closer to Tokyo as the days go by. G-Force determines that Mechani-Kong will 100% attack Tokyo and will be in the Shinjuku area in 4 days. The military begins evacuation procedures and G-Force begins staging its weapons to fight Mechani-Kong. On its way to Tokyo, G-Force tries to slow Mechani-Kong down with maser tanks and jets. However, they pose no real threat to the mechanical menace, who quickly destroys the forces and continues towards Tokyo. As the days go by, Mickey tries desperately to connect with Godzilla, hoping he can help. Junior hadn't been in Tokyo since his father's death, but through endless trying, Mickey is able to establish yet another faint connection with Junior. She senses he is healed and convinces him to come to Tokyo. Mechani-Kong arrives in Shinjuku. The military and G-Force are powerless and unable to stop him. Mechani-Kong destroys building after building. After what seems like hours, Mickey senses Godzilla is nearby. In the middle of his rampage, Mechani-Kong is hit by an atomic blast right out of the sea. Godzilla surfaces and stomps into Tokyo, decimating everything, and engages with Mechani-Kong for their second battle. They instantly lock beams, but Godzilla is once again pushed to the ground. Mechani-Kong comes close to Junior and drops another bomb from his utility belt on him. Junior is pummeled to the ground. Mechani-Kong backs up and fires his beams at Godzilla repeatedly. Junior cries out in pain, but this only encourages Mechani-Kong to keep going. Mickey decides to go and be with Junior in his moment of pain. In a helicopter, she monitors Junior and hopes he will regain energy to fight. This time, she is able to establish a strong connection with him and encourages him to keep fighting. Junior gets up and engages Mechani-Kong in close combat for a bit. He pushes his body into Mechani-Kong and whips his tail at him. He forces him back with his atomic breath. Mechani-Kong fires more missiles from his toes and fingers. He fires his eye beams again, pushing Godzilla back. Mechani-Kong pushes Godzilla to the ground, fires his beams again, and then gets another bomb from his utility belt. Junior uses his nuclear pulse ability and pushes Mechani-Kong back and does severe damage to him. The pulse didn't just push back Mechani-Kong, it also reacts negatively with the element X, which in turn fries his circuits. Junior gets up and roars in defiance. Mechani-Kong is essentially destroyed, smoking and unable to move. Godzilla fires his atomic blast repeatedly and blows up Mechani-Kong. Mechani-Kong lays destroyed in Tokyo. Godzilla roars in satisfaction and rampages through the city, lighting everything up with his atomic breath. As he enters the bay, Junior looks up at the helicopter nearby, almost acknowledging Mickey. The two have a connection and Mickey says goodbye for now. Junior heads off and Mickey directs him to go to Adawana Island, where his egg was initially found in 1993. As he heads off, Junior is not seen as a hero but considered a threat to Japan. G-Force asks Mickey to stay on and help with keeping tabs on Junior. She accepts, hoping that she can better understand Junior. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have another what if idea I'm working on, which will be a sequel to my What If Godzilla Was in the War of the Gargantuas. I'm hoping to have that out sometime in April and then come back to complete my adventures with Godzilla Jr. I already have an idea I'm working on as a follow-up to this what if. Thank you so much for the support, I really appreciate it. Next week my predictions for Godzilla vs. Kong will be out, so get ready.